3:05 is what we'll call it. And I call to order our special called meeting of the Durant Community Facilities Authority. With my thanks, I talked to Cindy last week and Tuesday was looking rough, and so I appreciate that we could push this back to Thursday and appreciate your attendance. So with that, we'll call the meeting to order and call the roll.
Trustee Baxter?
Here.
Trustee Blackburn?
Here.
Trustee Dillard is absent. Trustee Dean?
Here.
Trustee Grover?
Here.
Trustee Miller?
Here.
Trustee Morris?
Here.
Vice Chairman Pierce is absent. Chairman Webb?
Here. All right, and with that, you should have received a copy of the minutes from the meeting dated September 7, 2021. We consider a motion, or if there's discussion, we can do that.
Chairman? We
Yes.
can also do those in one vote.
Oh.
Consent items.
Yes, okay, all consent items, gotcha, all right. And the schedule of meetings, which is also, if you'll click there, that schedule is in a PDF attachment.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Okay,
A second.
motion and a second.
Okay, everyone can enter their vote.
Ours didn't come up with a prompt to vote.
Yeah, it started to, and then, let me just see. Let's try again.
Did not.
We're just working this way one by one. Yeah, two.
Mine come up.
Okay, I'm just gonna call it.
That's fine. Okay, all right.
Trustee Baxter?
Aye.
Trustee Blackburn?
Yes.
Trustee Dean?
Yes.
Trustee Grover?
Yes.
Trustee Miller?
Yes.
Trustee Morris?
Aye.
Chairman Webb?
Aye. All right, very good, thank you. Then, have no items removed from consent, so our information items. First is our financial report.
I think everybody have this report on hand. The first 3 pages is the summary that, the first one is the summary of the checking account. So this one, break it down, easy to read it and easy to understand. And this time, because our meeting is on the 9th, so I have the chance to put November statement in it. So you will see that this is the November's balance on this report. And the second page is our sales tax, quarter cent sales tax report. And the third one, this one is the one that is kind of like summary our financial statement, and then break it down to the revenue and the expense and the total year to date. Is there any question that you want me to explain it? And back of it is all the supporting document. That's how I get all this report.
I always ask the open-ended question, any anomalies or anything out of the ordinary, or anything that someone with a sharper eye than I would look at it and say, what's that? What's that? Just anything out of the ordinary, anything that strikes you as an anomaly or something that,
I don't know.
Okay.
I think it's really regular
Sure.
expense.
yeah, no,
yes,
that's a good affirmative answer, sure.
I have a question. Do we think that the growth, well, I don't know if this is gonna work for me. Okay. Thank you. Do we think that, the growth in from the last month or last year at this month on each one is from all the events, the sales tax on the downtown, like the Thursday night concerts and places staying open? Just curious
What-
if we'd seen a lot of, no, not on that? Okay.
Well, I think this is just the sales tax. You mean the growth of the, what does that mean? The sales
Having
tax?
extra, no, with the sales tax, having extra events in the evenings that we've had downtown, that is what has been the growth for August and September.
I don't think we can tell we cannot tell
Where it's coming from?
Yes, where's the revenue come from? Yeah, this is just the sales tax revenue overall for our city, something like that. Mhm.
Other questions? Outstanding. Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Have a report from the Senior Activities Center renovation? Awesome.
Hello.
Hello.
We are looking at the grand opening for the senior center. Sorry, I'm kind of short. It's going to be on the 18th of January, so we're going to have a grand opening then. Some different updates. We're finalizing like the different tables and chairs where they're going to be going. A lot of more cosmetic things as construction is closing an end. Cavan's has up until 30 days from the 15th of this month to be completely done. So we're looking at that and just doing final touching. We're going to do some janitorial cleaning, things like that. Get some movers out there to move furniture in, all the fun stuff towards the end. So we're closing in on it being open.
Awesome. January 18th.
January 18th, yes, sir.
Awesome.
I did have one question on it. The last meeting, I believe, did we have a different grand opening date scheduled? And okay,
We've had several. I'm new to this position. Mike
Okay.
Davis, I took his position, and I know that there was multiple different time ending dates, but Shane, the architect, him as well as Mark Hall and the fire marshal went out and met with Cavens to get a very good definitive date, and we have that. It's definitive now, so it won't be
Okay.
changing.
when what were we scheduled to actually open to begin with? Like, what was our grand opening date? And then now it's to the 18th of January.
I think it was October, I believe. October something was one of them. I know that there
October
was.
23rd was the last one I heard.
Right, and that was prior to me, me coming on when that date was set, so I apologize, I don't have any more information on that. But I could look back and get a summary and resend it out to everybody if that's something that you guys would like.
Is there any reason, like in general, as far as like supplies, stuff like that, when we're having trouble getting that, or?
I know that was an issue. We did get the vanities in. I know that we were waiting for the vanities. They're ADA rated, so with everything having to be ADA rated, That's been kind of, with COVID and materials being behind, things like that, as well as workers being behind on top of it. I know that it was just kind of came together all together, sad. But we are only awaiting the dividing panels that are ADA rated for the bathroom, to where they have to be able to withstand somebody pulling a handle on them. So we are waiting for those, but that's not gonna halter a grand opening. We will have everything in place.
So January 18th, you said?
January 18th is gonna be the grand opening.
Okay.
Yes, sir. We're also gonna have new dining ware. I talked to the city manager, John Dean, and he had approved, for me to work it into my budget to where they're gonna have new, I would say, nicer dining ware, nicer things to serve with. So it's gonna be very, very nice. I'm very excited for it to be open.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for me? Y'all just ready for it to be open?
Looking forward to being open. Yeah,
So am I.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Shane, anything to add to that? Just, I'm gonna put you on the spot, but anything?
No, it's all right. I had jotted just a few notes just
You
because I
bet.
didn't know, but, yeah, we had a pre-walkthrough yesterday with fire marshal and building inspector, made an initial list of some of the life safety things that have to get put in before they can do their substantial completion walkthrough, which is 1 week from yesterday. So the 15th next week will be the substantial completion walkthrough. That'll be the point where essentially the building is occupiable from a life safety standpoint. Contractually, it allows the city to start moving into the facility. Mark Hall and Wade can sign off on a temporary certificate of occupancy, which will allow everybody to start moving in. And then they'll have 1 month from that date to kind of get all the punch list things that we jot down done. So within the next 30 days, they'll have to get all of that done. Sorry. There are, and that shouldn't be a problem. So, I mean, they do toilet partitions are still, somewhere on a boat somewhere. So those kind of things are still lacking, but everything else seems to be in order. Got some exit lights and that sort of thing that were existing in the facility that aren't working. So some of those little things will have to get swapped out, but those aren't a very big deal. So,
Okay.
yeah, finally coming to a close on that.
Awesome. Great, thanks. Arena convocation?
We are up and running as normal as we possibly can be. We finished 2 construction or remodeling activities. I think I'd mentioned to the board the floor. We had remodeled the floor or renovated the floor this past summer, and it's completed. Also did a renovation of the lighting within the walking track, and we'd done the court last year and did the walking track this year. Continue to have walkers daily. Usually we average about 40 to 50 walkers a day that from the community that comes through there. Started basketball season. When was the first home game? Around the 1st November somewhere. Yeah. So having our normal basketball season going on. We have commencement tomorrow night. And then Saturday morning, well, I think we're graduating somewhere around 500 this midterm at Southeastern. And then another special event we'll have will be the Bryan County Tournament. We'll return to the arena this January, the 3rd week in January, after taking last year off from COVID. So exciting, and it's running as well and as normal as we have in the past.
Awesome, thank you, sir. And our multi-sports complex report.
Okay, I'm a little bit more prepared now, this time than I was last time. So with the sports complex, we have finished installing and programming 4 scoreboards from the Barry Switzer Company. They are taking into consideration doing the rest of the scoreboards out there, and the 5 remaining ones, that includes football, and we're also looking into possibly doing the other parks that are within the city limits, because the more advertisements they're able to sell, the more likely they're going to do more. And with that has to have events to show that it's worth it. I'm in talks with National Championship Sports to have national softball tournaments starting in February 22nd, roughly. We'll have, if they're able to get the teams, we're going to have 7 tournaments all next year. So with the possibility of 10. Shade structures. Now I know we're wanting to do the softball. No one can give me a straight answer, or I haven't really started to ask. I just started bidding out for the entire complex on any bleachers that don't have shade, how much it would cost. Willingham Construction is the only engineer or construction company in town that was willing to respond to my initial call. So right now they're the ones that are getting my business. He's waiting on engineers to come up with a plan and the cost for the materials to give me an accurate cost, but he can guesstimate it'll be about $30,000 per square foot. So with that being said, we can do most likely the 2 small, or $30 per square foot is what, that's my bad. Yeah. For the 2 big softball fields, bleachers, we're looking at roughly $45,000 to $50,000 to shade those entire stands. And then with there's 5 other fields that don't have any shade, we're looking at $10,000 per field. So once they get accurate estimates, then I'll report to you guys and let you know, and we'll start getting at least some of the fields shaded. Concession stands, all the concession stands are done. We're just doing the final touches, trim, putting some backer board up, and once that is all done, I'll call the health department and get them out there to see what all we missed. But that's what we're looking at for the sports complex. Any questions about it? In the Parks Master Plan, I do have a list of other improvements that we can make, but a lot of the stuff is going to be years in advance, and with adding on to the expansion, getting possibly turf fields, lighting for the soccer fields, because soccer is the only area that doesn't have any lighting, so we can't have any night games, so it makes where tournaments don't happen. But that's included in the master plan for the sports complex. Any questions about the sports complex before I move on to everything else?
Have we figured out the bathroom situation out there? Like, found somebody like on the weekends to come open them up if they have stuff going on out there?
So with the sports complex, they are open. Okay. They were open the entire time. The only complaint about those bathrooms that we've seen is there's at the soccer fields, the bathroom is on a bit of distance away from the majority of the fields. It's close to the 10 and under or the 12 and under field, but for the little kids, it is a 100, 200 yard walk. And that since on soccer game days, if anyone's been out there, you get 500 people real quick out there. So after every hour, you have to have it cleaned. I told my concession stand workers, if we have enough staff to watch the stand and go clean the bathrooms, to do that. But right now we haven't had the staff to do both. It's either one's here and then one's at football and one's at softball, and that's all.
Is there any plan to put bathrooms closer to that area?
That's included in the master plan. Okay. I do want to have, where the concession stand is for soccer, I would like to build a structure that's like at football, softball, and baseball right there. That way there's bathrooms closer, and it has a concession stand that's not a shed that we made into a concession stand.
Oh, that's perfect. I just had several citizens.
Yeah. I'm with them. I have 2 kids, and we played soccer, and I hated when they said, "Oh, we got to go to the bathroom." Gotcha. I'm like, well, I'm picking you up and running.
Are there still there? Are there porta potties still
No,
there?
we did not do porta potties out there this year. And the big issue that was on Facebook about bathrooms being open, those were at Billy Miller and Keithley Park. The people that was OK Kids baseball, they have keys to open up those bathrooms, and they didn't inform me when their games were even starting. So we had called them and we're like, you guys have keys? Do I need to go out, open them? I'm like, oh, we have keys, we just forgot to open them. I was like, well, we're the people that are getting hit for it, so can you go open those up real quick?
There you go.
Okay, any other questions about the complex? Okay. Carl Albert was the other big project. Playground's completely done. We have installed all the merry-go-round, all the other little bits of equipment. So that section is completely done. We can now look at the other two playgrounds and start hopefully getting those fixed or replaced. The drainage ditch, I've talked to the street department, they're gonna start soon. And they'll have to start with put an 18-inch pipe down Washington Street to help with the drainage. And once they do that, then they'll put a 12-inch pipe just north of the basketball courts to help get water flow and get it off the basketball courts or anything like that. And once they finish those, that's when we'll start resurfacing the parking lot and closing down that through street so kids can get from one park to the other safely. And I'm waiting for a quote from Ferris Electric to install the ground wire for this light poles that we currently already have. I just gotta get a quote for them, see how much it's gonna be. And once we have that, we'll install 10 black decorative poles around both the walking trail on the south side of the park, and then by the swimming pool in the parking lot there, we'll have decorative poles, and then 6 street lights placed throughout on the roads, just in areas that are dark, so it should light up that situation. Once we finish that, the Carl Albert lighting situation, I'll move to Dixon Durant and start getting quotes and getting everything set up to have those lights put in, and along with the lake as well, and the lake last. Oh, any question about Carl Albert? We did actually have a ribbon cutting ceremony at Carl Albert while in pumpkin painting. I bought 90 pumpkins and we gave away, and kids painted about 60, 70 of them. So it was a pretty good turnout. Kids were asking if they could paint multiple ones. I saw no harm in it, so I was just throwing pumpkins at kids and letting them paint and have a lot of fun doing that. And so we'll start working on other parks. Parks master plan, I have given it to you guys. To go over the whole thing we'd be here forever. I don't feel like being here forever. So if you guys have any questions, what I did was on the description of each park, underneath I put what I saw improvements need to be made, how much it roughly costs. That's the cost of right now. When I started making this, playgrounds were, all the playground companies were in the process of repricing their structures. So the prices may change, they're going to go up. In all the playgrounds, I've included having a fall protection that is a poured-in mobile rubber, so it'll be ADA accessible, and it won't go missing. Kids won't take it in pockets. It won't deteriorate, all that. Because right now we're going to look at having 1,000 cubic yards of playground mulch to replace everything that we got going on now, and that's going to be 20,000 plus. So. Then we'll have other amenities installed to all the parks. Get pickleball's picking up here. We teamed up with Blue Zone and Imagine Durant to turn one of the Dixon Durant tennis courts into pickleball. And we have 2 courts out there. We got a free net from Ardmore Health. So anyone can go to the library, check out the equipment, and they can go to Dixon Durant, play pickleball. They're starting a league or a clinic once a week. Imagine Durant and Blue Zone are taking care of being responsible for the league. We're just helping keeping the court painted, so until we can install an actual court. And then Lake Durant, I have a lot of plans for Lake Durant. It needs a lot of work just because it's a beautiful area. We need to have more stuff out there to get more people involved. In no particular order, I've already started working on making bathrooms ADA compliant, where it could use some playground structures, so when families go out there to camp, kids have a playground to play on. Refurbishing all the RV pads, put some tent sites up around the walking trail so people can go camping out instead of being right on the RV pad. Adding a fishing dock so fishermen don't have to make room for the boaters. And installing a new parking lot, swim beach, horseshoe courts, and street lighting, and possibly, if we get all this accomplished and we still have room, which we should, and install a ropes course to have a ropes course facility out there and have team challenges and all that. Any questions? Okay.
Excellent, thank you,
No
thank you. Off the beaten path, but I saw their master plan with the exception of country club land. Just for curiosity's sake, what's the long-term plan for that? Is there I know that's off, yeah.
So as of right now, we don't have
Yeah.
a long-term plan.
Yeah.
I would like to see what the community would like before I say, okay, here's my plan for this area, because my plan is different from a lot of other people. But we're for sure going to connect all the golf cart paths to make last time I measured it, it's 3 to 4 mile long walking trail.
Yeah.
And it'll have multiple different paths. And so that's to start out with. But we have we're going to refurbish, rebuild the actual country club, and have a community center so people can rent out and have events out there. But other than that, I haven't decided what to really do with that land, because it's so much area. We can use it for so many things. It's just coming up with what the city and the community wants and needs versus going from there.
The best viewing point in Bryan County for the fireworks at Choctaw, and I had the parking lot to myself.
Yep.
So, no kidding, don't tell anybody. But we, just on a whim, we pulled up out there and we rescued a couple of stray dogs that got scared by the fireworks.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's another story, but it was the best spot you could possibly imagine to view the fireworks from there. So if it's a community center, place, whatever, there's some opportunity there for some viewing and some community
Yeah.
activity. So, FYI.
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful area. Even
Yeah.
looking
Oh, for
the other
sure.
way,
Yeah.
looking over the ponds, there's a lot. I honestly would like to keep that as natural as possible.
Yeah.
Just mowing around the walking trails. That way,
Right.
you have, instead of driving to the lake every time for a walking trail, you can just drive 5 minutes into town and
Yeah.
you're right there.
Yeah. Awesome. Ponds, that's what I'd recommend. All right, thank you very much, very thorough, I like that. Excellent. And so when you put the agenda together, you worded it so much better than I did, because it was just a big old open-ended question. But our, under administration, discussion of the purpose of sales tax revenues established by the ordinances, use of the funds, et cetera. And I just know we've had discussions on projects and things that came before the board and approved one, denied one, approved another. And I wanted to have a better understanding myself, you know, of what that looked like. And also I just didn't want to look up in, you know, a couple of years and say, you know, what, you know, I wasn't informed, or I didn't know, or whatever. So I wanted to have a discussion to determine, you know, if there's a process that, you know, where we could look at potential projects, or, you know, what that might entail. But we have just discussion only. Yeah, okay, all right. But and I know, John, you brought some information as well, and so with that, I mean, I just kind of open the floor for that discussion. Like I said, I just want to make sure that when my service to this board is done, that, you know, I have a good feeling that, you know, we didn't just sit and then it's all done. And I'm not opposed to money going to the, you know, to the city when we're done, or whatever that might be. I just want to have a good feeling when I'm done that we've done some good with the, you know, the task at hand, or the job at hand. So.
Well, I gave you two
Mhm.
different documents.
Yep.
One is what the purpose of the revenue is
Yep.
for each different ordinance. And so each %, is specifically to be used for certain things, okay? So those purposes are all laid out there for you. You can read them. They're pretty self-explanatory.
Mhm.
And then currently we project that the tax will generate, each quarter center generates just under $17.25 million. So the multi-sports complex and other projects, right, revenue minus expenditures, and what we project, we'll end up with a surplus of about $4.5 million. That's both taxes combined, okay? The city of Durant and the Durant Utility Authority, they contributed approximately just under $4.9 million through FY 2022 for the Dcfa. That's money outside of what that each quarter cent has brought, right?
Okay.
So, the city committed a half-cent of excess sales tax to cover any debt shortfall. So the money that was borrowed, the city committed a half-cent to cover that. So to this date, the city of Grant has expended $1,808,370 of sales tax to cover debt shortfall.
Okay, I don't mean to interrupt you, John, we have a question on that. So basically, the 5 million, was you say, the 4.8 million, that was created outside the quarter cent sales tax, and then 1.8 million that was created outside the quarter cent sales tax. So we got almost $7 million there that has been infused into projects or needs or wants or whatever, redos of original.
The majority of that was spent on operations and maintenance for the multi-sports.
Okay, that's what I was getting at, so that's where it went.
And so the next thing is the Southeastern, the quarter cent for Southeastern is projected to have a shortfall of just over $1.5 million. So that money is what's covered by the city general fund at half-cent tax, right? So that's what the city committed to. So
When you say a shortfall, how is that shortfall calculated?
if you look at this sheet, it takes all of your expenditures and all of your revenue projections. And in the far right-hand column, that's the number that it comes up with. There were two separate issuances of debt for Southeastern projects.
For the football area and then for the convocation center?
That's correct.
So I guess the projected amounts that were allotted at that time went over, but I'm just paraphrasing, went over budget $1.5 million dollars, and that's what it came to.
That's, yes, sir. That's the end result.
How do you tell the difference between the quarter cent for the multi-sports and Southeastern?
The multi-sport is listed in the green. It says DMSC above it on this chart.
But the revenue would be equal.
That is correct. If you look at the two columns, the second and third column from the left,
Yeah.
there's your revenue projection. And then the columns on, the blue and green columns on the right-hand side project all of your expenses. And so those numbers are carried over to the left.
So, and again, maybe I know too much or obviously don't know enough. So all of the redos or repairs or the mistakes that were made at the sports complex that had to be redone, they're covered by something else, the $7 million, I guess, where the overage at Southeastern is showing deficit. Is that what we're saying?
No. No. We're saying the excess that was spent in the multi-sports complex was spent on maintenance and operations. What those are over that period of years, I can't tell you exactly what they are, but that's one of the things that's listed in ordinance 1430, is that is a use of the sales tax, the quarter cent sales tax. And it should not have come actually from the Durant city utility fund. It should have come from the sales tax.
Right.
Are those salaries included, salaries of the workers out there included in that? Is that
Yes,
a
sir.
contributing
All the
factor?
operations and maintenance should be included in that sales tax, and it was not. And I don't know why. I wasn't here, I don't know that history.
Yeah,
We weren't either.
yeah.
And so I guess, and again, I'm not trying to bring up sensitive subject, but when the mayor kind of caught me off guard the day that she made the comment that Southeastern owes the city $1.5 million, I guess that's where she was coming from with this, is that?
Yeah, but that's not really true, because the city committed to take up whatever was short.
With that extra, yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
So,
You know, I apologize for.
we don't need to write us a check.
I'm just,
So,
it just clarifies it for us.
so the maintenance at Southeastern hasn't been included in this.
Yeah.
No.
So, because we've, and again, this is just for discussion purpose, the replacement of the turf at the football field, and then the renovations that were done to the arena, with different things, none of that included, but
But it doesn't really matter, because you're gonna be short anyway on the tax. The tax from the sports complex side, the DMSC side, can't be used for Southeastern.
How do you tell the difference between the two taxes when it's taken out? So I spent $1.
Mhm.
How do you tell which one you got committed to? 1430 or 1431? Does that make sense?
Both,
Right.
quarter cent, 2 quarter cents, one to
Right.
each.
Yeah.
Yeah, those revenues are the same.
Right.
They're just, I would assume,
I know that it is.
it's
I'm
not,
asking
yeah,
as
yeah.
The debt is done on a percentage basis.
Yeah.
Southeastern borrowed X amount of dollars for their project. The sports complex, they had X amount of dollars.
Right.
So it's roughly, I think, 31.69% is the way that's split out.
So the shortfall is the maintenance and improvements.
No. Well, it
And I
is.
guess I'm missing something.
No, the shortfall for Southeastern is the debt service, which is what the city committed to cover with sales tax, with general fund sales tax. Because
the projects went over $1 million.
the projects were meeting that
Okay.
coverage over. That's
Okay.
correct. Over what it's gonna generate over the life of the
Right.
The tax.
tax. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Keep hitting the bullets, man. I'm
Okay.
good. This is, I'm learning something here.
So, so when the debt is, when the tax is done, right, I believe that the city should be reimbursed anything over that's, which is about $250,000, anything over the excess that was paid over the excess of the debt service shortfall, right? Which right now is 1.8 million, and it could go up or down, because we just projected, growth of sales tax based on historical homes.
Right.
So, we believe that the city should be reimbursed out of that, so, because they didn't commit to paying anything over the debt shortfall. And we have at this point. And also think that DCUA should be reimbursed, because they didn't commit to spending $3.1 million, for the sports complex. That was a totally different project, so.
I guess I get I'm a little lost. You said they didn't commit, then how did they use those funds if it wasn't committed to them?
Well, I wasn't here, right, but according to what was voted on and passed, this was all, should have been part of the tax. And I don't know why it was done the way it was, right, but that's the way I see it.
And then historically, I don't know if you look back that far and did the analysis of that. I mean, is it, is it possible that it could have done that?
It's quite possible that it might not could have done that,
Got it,
right?
right,
And so that's why it was taken up by DCUA.
Right.
The city couldn't afford to do it either.
right,
So DCUA committed those funds to get it to a point where it is
Right.
today, or will be in
Got it.
2024.
Got it. All right,
So,
okay.
so those funds have been committed, just like the deficit was there, those funds have been committed to cover those. So how do you go back now after the fact, I guess, and change that?
Well, the city is the actual beneficiary in the end, right? So money from the city, from my perspective, is whatever they put up that didn't have to be, whatever's left in the end, should go back to the city, recouping the money that they put out.
Right.
Makes sense. So,
Okay.
Well, if I was sitting in the city, so I'd probably say the same thing, but I'm sitting in the other city, I'd say, you know, just the historical knowledge that I have, is the mistakes that were made that had to be redone at the sports complex. Could have probably built two of them.
I don't think there was that much money spent. You're only looking at $10 million that was spent, $6 million is borrowed, so.
It's good information.
Yeah.
Never seen it presented like that.
And because the ordinance says that the taxes can be used for operations and maintenance, I see that Dcfa should be doing the operation and maintenance on the sports complex. So, which that last 3 years, if you average historically out, that'd be about $500,000 a year. So
Right.
about 1.5 million.
What happens after 30 years?
When the tax is done, then Dcfa doesn't actually
I know.
exist anymore.
I know, that'll be an issue. Correct? You gotta come up with that $500,000 somewhere else.
Could be, but it doesn't have to be through.
No, it'll have to come from somewhere else.
That's correct. You are correct.
Okay.
What is our current budget? What else do we have in the bank currently that we?
Page, well, those are bonds outstanding, ending balances, sales tax deposits on, page 2, and then, that's our sales tax history report.
2.7.
It is,
2.794 on page.
2 when I asked the other day.
yeah. Okay, I'm smarter right now than I was, at our last meeting when I said I wanted to have some kind of a discussion. I still have some questions as to, okay, well, you know, I think we can show back up in, in 3 months, and we can approve minutes, and we can, approve the financial report and hear reports, and I still, just think, this is perfect. This is good information to have. I just think that maybe now, in some way, shape, or fashion, take the information that we have, and just, whether it's like, great idea, when we're done, they write the city a check, or when they're all done, it doesn't allow for it, but, we all get the money and right, no, that's not gonna happen. But you see what I'm saying, though? I feel like that, I've served on this board for a long time, and I think I've seen some neat things happen and some great things in our community happen. I just wanna make sure that when the sun does set on this thing, if it's just a transfer of funds, that's fine, but between now and then, I'd just like to have some type of a vision or something for us to work towards, to be, some purpose.
Well,
So-
Mark, I would echo, not to interrupt you, but I would echo what you're saying. And I was here when it started, and I was one that went door to door knocking on the doors for people to vote for this, whether it was a positive or a negative. And to see that the division now is really alarming to me. I think that the point when we started this thing was to be unified as a community and to be unified for the purpose of the citizens of the community. And that's what I would like to see it continue
Right.
to move towards.
Yeah.
Because that was the initial effort of the people who knocked on the doors and who wrote this in the original
Right.
board, was to be unified for the purpose of the citizens of Durant. And that was where I would love to see it continue
Right.
to go.
I would like a little clarification. Let's suppose we needed $1 million of emergency repair for the complex. How would we pay for that? Out of what money? Or could we?
We could, because right now we have about $2 million in the bank.
What if we needed it for the convocation center? I wonder. But it's very peculiar that a city is sponsoring a facility at a university, I think.
Well-
I think if there was debt issued by this entity, the city would be on the hook for that with the half-cent excess sales tax, the way the ordinance is written.
Is that why the utilities kind of coverage, is that kind of the
I-
same?
I believe so,
Yeah.
but I wasn't here. So.
Just wondered.
Right.
What about this, Dcfa and an involvement kind of with the other, like, blue zones and, Imagine Durant and the schools in the community? I know, for example, that there's wanting a sidewalk at a high school, something that's thought of, and I think there's a grant they're working on. Have they ever teamed up in the past to?
This authority, I think, has traditionally been very narrowly purposed for managing the debt. And things like that really haven't come up much that I'm aware of.
Good question.
I think you would have to define what is economic and domestic prosperity, community development. I
Yeah.
have searched and searched, and I have not found a definition for that.
Yeah.
So that is the only thing that I see that could be considered, but there's no definition for it. There's not one in the ordinance that was adopted.
Yeah.
There's not one, you can Google it, and you can't find a definition for it.
I've read it several times, and it's almost as if it's kind of like, if it's good for some of the citizens of the town, then if it's voted upon, then and we approve it, it could be done.
Right.
And
But in both
That's so-
descriptions, you see the phrase "but not limited to"
yes,
all over the place.
Yeah, yeah,
So what does that mean?
yeah. Pardon the crudeness, but there's always a big but.
But that's part of what
yeah.
Mark, that's part of what you're trying to say is, we need a vision of
Yes,
instead of
yeah,
Anyone
Yeah.
holding out and saying, hey, someone come walking in here
Yeah.
and say, hey, what about this, what about this,
Yeah.
what about this? I think
Right.
that's why your question.
Yeah, and I think, you know, it's a good document, but I think it was also written so that it's like, you know what, 20 years down the road, we don't want to handcuff anyone and not be able to, who knows what our city's going to look like in 20 years. So, you know, we want to make this possible. Well, it makes just darn near anything possible, you know, with that document. And so, yeah, I'm not sure exactly, again, what I'm proposing, but I would just say that maybe, you know, we continue to have a discussion about how exactly we, you know, what our vision and our purpose becomes. There's you know, one proposal or one suggestion, one idea on the table, and I think it needs to be fair and equitable for everyone. I know that, but, so. Is that an ending point? I'm not sure. Okay, all right. Well, thanks, and again, thank you for agreeing to back up a couple of days. I'm no busier than anybody else except for this past Tuesday, and it was a rascal, so I appreciate you all being, willing to do that. Any new business, any other,
Did we address
business?
the final
I'm sorry?
issue? The 4B? Did we, what happens to
Establish
that?
goals and objectives. Yeah, that's, again, I think that's kind of where, I think we're in agreement that that's something that we do need to do. I don't know, you know, I think it's almost like, I mean, yeah, and then obviously it's not a closed discussion, but I think maybe we leave here today with some, you know, just some prodding and some just think about what that might be. And then I think it's also some discussions with community, you know, stakeholders. Anyway, I think establishing goals and objectives. I just think that's where we need to be with it. And we took a big step towards kind of understanding a little better where we stand today. My dad would say I'm kicking the can down the road a little bit, and I think I am with that. But I think that's kind of what we need to do. And maybe when, you know, our time is you know, narrowing, but I think at the meeting we just looked at on that date, I forget exactly what that was, at the next meeting, I would propose that we all maybe kind of come to the table and have an agenda item where we talk about action to establish goals and objectives, about maybe some things within our community that we've had some discussions with our neighbors and folks throughout our community, and maybe propose some things, some ideas or suggestions on even how we receive suggestions for what we might do. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, very good. What else? Any other new business? Questions, comments, or accusations? All right. I would be open to a move. Yeah. Got it. Okay. Well, that vote's always a unanimous.
Mine says no internet now. There it is. I still can't get that.
Trustee Baxter,
Aye.
trustee Blackburn,
They haven't done it.
Aye.
trustee Dean,
Yes.
trustee Grover,
Yes.
trustee Miller,
So I don't think.
trustee Morris,
Aye.
chairman Webb.
Aye.
Because what I'm asking is because we are downtown,
Outstanding. Thank you. We are adjourned.
Whether that's helping with the.
That's what I was wondering, if it helped because places stayed open.
Awesome.